The biggest fight in all of One Punch Man has just been set up. And of course, it involves our favorite overpowered baldy, Saitama. And let me just say right now, it's gonna be the biggest and baddest fight we'll ever see in the series. The plot on how this fight is going to happen has just been revealed, and I feel like nobody's talking about it weirdly. Well, I'm gonna change all that right here with this video and break down this incredibly important development to all of you. Don't worry, I got your back. Since the end of the Monster Association arc, where we got to witness the epic battle between Saitama and Garo, many fans have been wondering when the next big fight will happen. I mean, this fight quite literally transcended time and space, and the fight bounced from Earth to Jupiter back to Earth, ending with freaking time travel. Say what you want about the whole time travel thing, whether you like it or not, you can't deny that the fight itself and the art from those chapters were absolutely incredible. Since then, the story has been building up the next major arc of the series, that being the Neo Heroes arc, and we've also had some smaller arcs sprinkled in as that one's cooking in the background. We of course just had the Psychic Sisters arc where Saitama and Tatsumaki fought, which was pretty awesome in itself and also introduced a lot of cool Esper lore, that's always welcomed. And now we're currently in what seems to be a ninja arc where Flashy Flash and Sonic are taking center stage. What's been very exciting with this arc in particular though, is the involvement of Blast and the introduction of a new ultra powerful opponent, the Ninja Leader. In chapter 196, we learn of the mysterious ninja village where Flashy Flash is from, and we also find out that Blast had visited the ninja village sometime after Flashy Flash abandoned it and totally wrecked the place. Well, it turns out that the village was so wrecked by Blast because he was there trying to reclaim the God Cube that was sitting there. We first got to see the cube in one of Flashy Flash's flashbacks. The biggest surprise from this chapter though is that we got the crazy reveal that the super powerful ninja leader that has been lying dormant for 15 years is actually Blast's former partner and close friend. His name is Empty Void, and he accepted power from God at some point and became a monster. Not only is he ultra strong, we also found out that Empty Void has a completely broken ability that gives him and him alone the access to the monster god himself. Blast explains in chapter 196 that Empty Void has the ability to open a dimensional portal called the Gate of the Celestial Rock Cave, which connects their world to the dimension where God is hiding. This is an absolutely massive reveal because it has some pretty big implications. It means that although Blast can travel through dimensions with his powers, there's at least one, if not more, dimensions that he can't have access to. It also means that the power of Empty Void is absolutely integral to the final fight against God. Without this ability, things can't progress. One Punch Man fans by now agree for the most part that the final fight of the series is going to be between Saitama and God. There's never really been a question there. The real question has always been how. How is this incredible fight to end all fights going to happen? Well, this chapter finally gives us that answer, and I feel like not many people have been talking about it. I don't know why. I mean, we just discovered someone that can go directly to the dimension where God's been hiding this whole time. In theory, if they manage to turn Empty Void into a human again and he opens the gate that leads to God, Saitama can just walk through it and take care of God right there and then, right? Well, it's likely not that simple, and chances are it won't be Saitama going to God once the gate is opened, but it'll be God coming to Saitama. On top of that, I think the power to open the gate of the Celestial Rock Cave is something that will be used by none other than Flashy Flash and Sonic, and not Empty Void. Sounds batshit crazy, I know, but just sit tight and let me explain how this chapter alone signifies how the most epic fight in One Punch Man and possibly all of manga is going to be set up. Just trust me, it all makes sense in the end. First of all, like many things in manga, the Celestial Rock Cave is actually something that exists in Japanese mythology. According to the Nihon Shoki, which is one of the oldest writings in Japanese history, there's a story where the bad behavior of Susanoo, the Japanese god of storms, drove his sister Amaterasu into the Amato Awado Cave, aka the Celestial Rock Cave. In order to get Amaterasu out of the cave, called upon one god in particular, whose name I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce because I'm going to embarrass myself. The point is they called on this god to throw a massive party outside of the cave. Japanese mythology is weird, but just bear with me. Other gods joined in to essentially give Amaterasu a fat case of FOMO in order to lure her out of the cave. It ended up working because Amaterasu grew curious about the source of all the amusement outside of the cave and peeked outside the entrance. Much like a My Mask in the Monster Association arc, as soon as she left the cave, she was distracted by how good she looked in a mirror that was planted there by the other gods. In the time she was checking herself out, the other gods closed off the cave forever with a holy seal. Now I don't think One and Murata are gonna follow this story to a T and write up this scenario where God is lured out of his dimension and tricked with a mirror to check himself out or anything. I do think, however, that the inverse of what happened to Amaterasu in this story is what happened to God. It's likely that he was sealed away in the celestial rock cave by a seal of some kind, possibly creating all the God cubes that are currently in the series, and these cubes were scattered all over the place to prevent his return. The cave is likely the dimensional space Saitama, Flashy, and Monako discovered while they were trapped underground. That dark space did look pretty cavey after all. Well, now that we have all that cleared up, it's now time to explain how Flashy Flash and possibly Sonic are going to gain the insane power to access God directly. With all the ninjas we've been introduced to throughout the series, none of them have really ever shown any type of supernatural abilities, right? Sure, ninjas like Hellfire can conjure flames on his blade and stuff like that, but I can't imagine any ninja, even one as strong as Empty Void, being able to inherently use an ability to access other dimensions, let alone one that leads to God himself. What I think is that he has a tool that allows him to do this, specifically the two swords on his back. When we first get the face reveal of Empty Void before he became a monster, we see that he has two distinct blades on his back. The first chapter we ever see him in general is in the chapter Secret Intel, where again we distinctly see those two blades across his back. In the webcomic, the blades on the ninja leader's back are considered to be legendary demon blades, and he also has access to forbidden ninja scrolls. It's likely that one, if not both, of these blades are necessary to open the celestial rock cave. Seeing as how Flashy Flash is in need of a new main blade after losing insta-kill, it only makes sense that he takes ownership of one of these legendary blades, and it's likely Sonic will take the other one, considering he's taking kind of a pseudo good guy role in this arc and is seemingly being set up to be Flashy Flash's rival. So once Empty Void is defeated, if he ever is defeated, he'll likely have the two blades on his back taken by Flashy Flash and Sonic, and that's when we might get the reveal that these two blades are the tools needed to open the gate that leads to God. If this is the case, it makes sense that Blast had been collecting the God cubes all these years, because these cubes are possibly needed to open the gate as well. Once all the cubes are collected, the two swords would be used to literally cut the gate open that leads to the celestial rock cave and finally give access to God. It's likely the cubes are essential to this whole process, or else Blast would have made it to God way earlier while Empty Void was still on the good side, since he could have just opened the gate anytime. It's also possible there are sacred scrolls or something that might be needed to open the gate as well, kind of following the ninja theme of all this. And this would also make sense since the ninja village itself is in the shape of one of the God cubes, which Flashy Flash points out himself is likely designed to replicate the God cube that was stored there. That tells us that God and his power is deeply ingrained in the culture and the history of the ninja village. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are other sacred ninja items hidden at the village that were created with God in mind. At the end of the series, it'll likely be a massive cast of characters teaming up to fight against God and the calamities he's sure to bring with him, so it's only fitting that Flashy Flash and Sonic team up at some point to help in the fight against God. And this is exactly how they would do it. Either way, this arc just introduced a way to directly access God, and I'm excited to see how this discovery is going to influence the story going forward. But one thing is for damn sure, the gate of the celestial rock cave is now the only thing standing between God and Saitama, and once that gate is opened, God isn't going to be greeted with a mirror and a party like Amaterasu was. Bro's going to get greeted with a big ol' ass whooping.